Hello everybody, welcome back. I am TheChornick, and this is my Elder Scrolls 6 theory series, and in this episode is about Valenwood. Will Valenwood be the next Elder Scrolls game? Now, I did take 2 weeks to do this video, but next week, I believe I'll go back to only a week at a time, because it was just such, to me, it was a long while till I had made this video. So I might move it back to 1 week again at a time. I was just trying to expand it out a little bit more because it is still some time until Elder Scrolls would even be announced. The next game would even be announced. So that's why I was trying to expand it a little further. Maybe I'll do it here and there, but at the moment I think I'll go back to just a week. So anyway, but in this episode we will delve into Valenwood and the possibility of it being in the next Elder Scrolls game. What will happen? What do we expect to see in this next upcoming game? Now, Valenwood is known as the beauty of Tamriel. It is the Tamriel's garden, essentially. Wildlife pretty much flourishes here, and not really any man armor really, affects the environment here in Valenwood. The Wood Elves have agreed to this special pact called the Green Pact, and this Green Pact is a Bosmer religion, this Wood Elf religion and culture that they believe in. And basically, apparently in the past, there's this forest god, I believe I'm trying to pronounce his name right, but it was like Yofri, I don't know, like Yofri, Yofri, man. Anyway, so Yofri was this forest god that apparently told them, hey, I'll make a pact with you, for protection, for your people's protection. You will not harm the forest fruits or trees or any sort of the wildlife here in terms of vegetation, or any kind of plant life. So the Bosmer had to resort to only carnivorous, resources. They had to pretty much be carnivores, pretty strict carnivores, and they had to eat all the meat that they, that they killed or that they saw, so even on the battlefield, like after killing an enemy, they would have to eat that enemy. They would have to, pretty much be, cannibals and eat their enemy that they just killed. And if they were to, or else they'll break the pact that they were, that they were devoted to. So yeah, so I mean, imagine you going to war, and you had that strict, the pact to you, and you had to eat every enemy after you killed them. So like, which would kind of be confusing, I mean, if you are, in a huge war and all that. So that's kind of the dark side to this Green Pact that they had. The thing is, I believe that there probably will be some story behind the Green Pact, and some Bosmer probably trying to, teach his family or something, or try to teach that this Green Pact must be broken and it's not good and all this other stuff. I believe that there'll be some storyline with the Green Pact in some sort of way. But yes, indeed, we will see this Green Pact have some sort of influence in the next game, if for Valenwood. Speaking of which, all other items like wood and steel and all that, all the items that that come from their world, that they have to use, they actually import all those other items from other provinces. They do not use the wood, or I believe they also don't use like the rock or steel or any kind of iron or anything that's part of their land. They do not use. They only eat the animals, only use the animals and carve out their bones for weapons. So they don't even use bows and wooden weapons that they craft themselves. They take it in either from other provinces, or they make it out of animal bones. So I believe that we also might see a lot of bone armors and different types of bone weapons in the next Valenwood game, in some sort of way. So I believe that we will definitely see some sort of weaponry like that. So that's a new little addition that we'll probably could likely see. Now also with the dark side, to go back to the dark side of the Green Pact, even though this does seem like the Elven race is disgusting, being cannibals if they had to kill their enemies, They are actually referred to as the friendliest race, and in the past they have been nice to both man and mer, and they have formed alliances with both of them. And this also kind of makes me think, hey, will they turn against the Thalmor and help man again, considering also another thing I forgot to mention and bring up is that Delphine in one of the Skyrim's quest lines said that I forget what the Wood Elf's name was, but she basically told the Dragonborn that it's okay to trust this Wood Elf because Wood Elves have a good enough reason to hate the Thalmor. So perhaps maybe there's some lore in which the Wood Elves secretly hate the Thalmor even though they're part of the Aldemir Dominion. That's something I didn't really understand too well. Perhaps you guys could post below about trying to help me figure out what I was trying to think about or trying to say. Like what's up with that anyway. But anyway, so please post in the comments and help me out with why the Wood Elves like extremely hate the High Elves. Apparently, maybe it's just because some sort of elven supremacy or something like that. But anywho, let's go back to another point. Now, another point I would like to bring up is how with the human races being welcomed within Valenwood, and even the Wood Elves seeing them as equals in the past, with the Althalmor coming in, they probably trying to change the Wood Elves' minds and ways. One thing I like to bring up is the Cameron dynasty. This used to be a kingdom, a group of rulers of Wood Elves in Valenwood. This Cameron dynasty apparently fell a while back, and that's when kind of Thalmor government took over. And so maybe perhaps there could be some quest line in which you try to help like some Cameron restore order and and make his dynasty whole again, or you could possibly go against him and create a new dynasty or new rule within the Valenwood people all the whole new government perhaps we could have. So anyway, the Cameron dynasty, I also kind of wonder if Mankar Cameron from the Oblivion game, the enemy from the Oblivion game, is related to them in any sort of way. So that's probably we hear more lore about that as well for the next game. The next thing I'd like to say will probably be about the different races. There's a couple different races that are unique to Valenwood, and these races are the Wood Orcs, the possible Aliens returning, and the Imiga, I think that's what you call them. They're a great ape race. And basically these great apes, I don't think you will be able to play as them in the Valenwood game. Perhaps you can, but they're a kind of more of a monster creature race. They're beast race, and they try to mimic the Wood Elves and other the elves, and trying to be all superior, and they're kind of a humorous race. So perhaps we'll see some comedy out of that race. But yeah, there are great apes that we would encounter probably in Valenwood. Another thing, which I said before, is Wood Orcs. So probably different kind of skin tone for these orcs. Who knows if they're actually related directly with the orcs we've seen in Skyrim and High Rock and Hammerfell. But perhaps we'd see more lore about why these Wood Orcs are different. So also, the next one is Aliens, as I mentioned. The Aliens, a long time ago, fled to Valenwood after, the Imperials rose to power in Cyrodiil. And there's a lot of Aliad ruins in Valenwood, and perhaps we'd even see some, Aliads remaining still alive in Valenwood. So perhaps we may see some lore about that, or they truly died off. We'd actually have to see about that. Some creatures I'd like to mention that are in Valenwood are the monkeys, the antelopes, crocodiles, mammoths, spriggans, great wasps, thunderbugs, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but I think it's called Horvers, or Horvers. But yeah, these are the different kinds of just a couple different creatures that we might see in Valenwood based game. So perhaps we'd see these as the environmental animals that would come and attack you. or they could be your friends, like the monkeys, for example. So you know, like kind of how like they had like those animal friends in ESO and all that. So perhaps these monkeys would, you know, be, you know, walking around with you and could probably help you in some sort of way. All right. So the next point I like to bring up is the wild hunt. Now this wild hunt is some, you know, also part of ancient tradition and ancient I keep pronouncing that wrong, but ancient it's some sort of religion or something, like something that, you know, the Bosmer apparently once were. Perhaps maybe they weren't these creatures before, but this forest god made them that, so it made them believe that they really were created from this god. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this god is just kind of manipulating them in some sort of way. But yeah, these wild hunt, they turn into monsters, which is an irreversible form. Once you turn into these monsters, once these wood elves do. And so perhaps maybe you could become the hero of, you know, reversing, you know, this process, which the wood elves are not fond of. So perhaps you could reverse this process, and you know, we will encounter some wild hunt, I believe, in the next game as well. Those wood elves that have turned into those, and maybe that could be a different type of monster creature we would encounter and have to kill in the wild. All right. Probably something else I'd like to talk about is the cities of Valenwood. One of the cities is called Valenest. I just don't know how to pronounce these words, but you know, I'll try my best. Okay. Anyway, Valenest is a moving tree city. It's apparently the capital of, you know, Valenwood, and I'd be really interested to see how this works out. I mean, will we have to travel, you know, and get to the city in different ways, you know, like, because if this tree is constantly moving, how fast will it move, you know? How will we actually get inside? Will we have to climb the tree, or will we have to use magic to get to the tree? Apparently the city's on top of this tree, on this massive, immersive tree, so it'll just be really interesting how that actually turns out. Wonder how they'll do that. Another city is the Sylvanar city, which there is two individuals. There's the Sylvanar and the Green Lady, and apparently they're like the spiritual leaders of the Bosmer. And the Sylvanar represents the current state of the Bosmer, while the Green Lady represents the past. You know, the past of the Bosmer. And apparently, if one of them dies, the other one turns mad, I guess, in some sort of way, and becomes a monster. In which we'll probably see some story about that, some, you know, a little quest about that. I bet the Sylvanar will, like, get killed, and you have to, like, stop the Green Lady from becoming this monster or whatever. So, maybe we'll perhaps see that. A couple extra points I like to bring up is that there could be a war between the Thalmor and Valenwood, because of their history and this, you know, apparent disliking of each other, apparently, even though they're part of the same, you know, same group, the Dominion. It's something else I thought that could possibly, you know, be in the next game. Also, another possibility, like such, you know, you have titles for, you know, you're like the Champion of Boethia, or Champion of Molag Bal, or Agent of, you know, or Mara or something. There, you could also be perhaps the Champion of Yafri, the Forest God. Perhaps maybe that could be a title, you know, or what's, you know, the character will become known as in the next game. Thanks guys for watching my video. Please post in the comments section below your thoughts and ideas of this episode. I apologize if I mumbled quite some in this video, as I did talk pretty much for 15 minutes straight. So please forgive me if that led you off a little bit. But anywho, guys, next week will be the release of Elsweyr. I will release that video next week, in which we will go over the province of Elsweyr. So hopefully you guys would gladly post your theories and ideas below for that, and for me to go over whatever you want me to go over in that next video. Please post your ideas and thoughts about, you know, what would happen in Valenwood if there is the next Valenwood. Please post your comments and ideas in the below section. Thanks guys, love you all, and peace off. Thank you very much.